Hi everyone, this is Olivia Kneibler from the Alexandrienne channel, and today we're going to talk about lesson number 5, Charms, from the Dangles lettering series. So if you're ready, let's get started. This video is longer than probably any of the other videos I've made. The reasons for that are because of how closely related charms are to embellishments. So I thought, since it's kind of a long video, I would start it out with something a little bit funny. As I was editing, I kept coming across me saying for starters, and I found some other kind of humorous things, so I thought I'd post them to add a little bit of levity before we get going, since this is a more teacherly video. And a little bit of levity is really a good thing. Okay, here we go. Okay, but shoot. The focal point, boy, that was a screw up. But anyway, okay. They both, no, never mind. Okay, not that. Let's try this one. Okay. So, um, okay then. That was dumb. Um, oh, okay. No, that's not going to work. I totally screwed that up. And most people would like it. It just adds flavor. How's that? Okay, that was dumb. So you can see here where there, might not be. Yeah, I screwed that up too. Um, arg. Okay, different finish. Here we go. Stop. Okay, that's it. But see, I just did it again. I just did the thing. Yeah, I almost did it again. Okay. I wanted to let you know that I probably eliminated 9/10 of that. I just noticed I do the okay thing too. Okay, let's get started. Here we go. Hope you like that. What are charms? Charms are images that can be anywhere on the composition, but oftentimes are at the end of a dangle. They can be simple geometric shapes, they could be extremely detailed, or anywhere in between. It all depends on your composition and how large of a surface you're working on. A charm can be compared like to the lit candle on top of the frosted cake. They should noticeably enhance the composition. The exception to this is if they are the main focus of your creation, then they're already going to be either the main focal point or one of the main focal points. And speaking of that, our next image is about a dangle with a charm being the main focal point. In the first image, you'll see that there is a dangle with a heart charm at the bottom. And on the next image, it's exactly the same, only without those two elements. And the question would be, which do you think looks better? I believe that the first one looks better because it makes a better use of the space. It adds more interest. If you compare the two, you'll notice that it draws your eye all the way down through the image, so you see everything. Whereas in the second image, it only draws your eye down to the bottom of the heart, and that's as far as it goes. And then you're left with this blank negative space, which in some compositions are great, but we're just comparing these two. So to me, it's rather obvious that the first image is more appealing and more interesting than the second image. So this is one example where a dangle and a charm are used as a main or one of the main focal points of an image. The next image we're going to look at also uses charms as a main focal point. On this image, it has two heart balloons tied onto the word love. And the heart balloons are the charms, And of course, the strings are the dangles. So the heart balloon charms share the main focal point with the word love, and that is the composition. The other little floating hearts and designs that you see would be embellishments. I also wanted to show this picture to show you that charms can be tiny, they can be large, they look fantastic as a focal point, and they also do a wonderful job as an addition to a composition to make an emphasis on whatever it is that your design is about. But to me, it definitely looks like the balloons catch your eye more than the word love. The charms are probably the most interesting of the two main elements because of the variety of designs that are within the charms itself. Whereas the word love is basically checks or stripes with some swirls. And the charms have all kinds of things going on there. So your eye would definitely be drawn to that more than the word love. On this image, it's of a butterfly, and I wanted to show it to you because here the charms and embellishments overlap. They kind of almost blend together. It's great for the type of image that it is. What it is a dangle, tangle type coloring page. And so it's fine to be this way, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that there are overlaps. It's kind of like a Venn diagram, which I'll bring up in a little bit, where the two can overlap. You might not be able to tell which is which. And this is one of those cases where, you might be able to tell a few of them, but for the most part, they kind of blend in together and they totally work as an image. But there isn't one or two or however many defining charms. And just in case you're curious, the last three images that I've used are from my henna coloring book, which is available on Amazon if you're interested. Now it's time to go on to the next section, which is all about when should you use charms? Well, the answer to that is whenever you want to. Almost all of my dangle images have charms for various reasons. Usually charms add that special spark, but there are other reasons to use them. For example, emphasis and balance, to name a few. Also, there's the theme of your composition. But there are times when charms might not be the best answer. You need to take everything into consideration to figure out if using charms is a good idea or not. I would venture to say that while not every time charms are the best idea, probably 98% or more of the time they are. Who doesn't want that little spark of awesomeness? I know I like it. Okay, let's start with when charms really are a must have. In this image, you'll see an example where you really have to have them. It's not a matter really of choice. To make this particular image, I needed to use charms for the vast majority of the image. The word sweet, each one of those is a charm. The word home is a charm. Well, and so is the other word home. It's a charm. It's just the very top part of the image, that's the image itself, and where it says sweet, below each one of the charms is an embellishment. To sum it up, there are times when you are going to make an image where most of it are charms. It wouldn't look right if it wasn't. But now let's go on to the opposite situation. In this image, I used no charms, no embellishments, just the dangles. And the dangles are actually the colors of the rainbow with swirled ends. And a face on the other side. I know, kind of interesting. But anyway, I thought about adding some embellishments or charms, but I didn't think it would add to the finished product at all. So I opted to not use any embellishments or charms. Now, this doesn't happen very often, at least not for me. I almost always use at least embellishments, but this is one of the very few cases where I only have the dangles. So, you might come across times when it just looks better without them. But that is the exception, not the rule. So, what do you think? Do you think it would look better with embellishments and charms? I would really like it if you would comment below and let me know. As I've said in my previous Dangles lessons, probably every time, that there really isn't a right or wrong answer. Sometimes there's a better answer, but as far as being right or wrong, no, it doesn't really exist. That's why I'm asking your opinion on this, because it really makes a difference to me. So thank you in advance if you do take the time to post a comment. I wanted to post this image one more time quickly just to show you the contrast between the previous image and this one. The last one there was nothing but clouds and the dangles. In here there is a lot going on. There's big charms, patterns everywhere, dangles, embellishments, and this looks really good that way. If you took all the embellishments out, I think it would look bare. And you can't very well take the charms out because that is one of the two main parts of the image. So I just wanted to put this up again for contrast so you can see there's a huge difference between the two. Now on to location, location, location. Where to put your charms totally makes a difference. You want them to be in the best spot for emphasis and balance as well as for other considerations. This is also another difference between embellishments and charms. You want everything to be in just the right spot, but embellishments are a bit more forgiving in this regard. But now, having said that, like I do in most videos, it all depends on why you're creating what you're creating. If you're doing something just for fun, I would put charms anywhere I wanted to. If it's a theme, you might want to give it a little more consideration. Now, once again, using an image I've previously used, I thought this would be a perfect one to talk about location. On number 1, you see where the dangle is slightly off center to the left, but it's also centered with the rest of the images, which is just about, I would say, the perfect spot for it. If it were, say, coming down on the right side of the image, it might look good, but then again, it might look not quite as good as where it is located now, but I don't know. If it were on the bottom right section, it would all go down at an angle, which might look kind of nice. Just something to take into consideration, that the location does matter. Balance is tied in with the location, so I'm just going to briefly cover this. You can have as many or few charms as you like. You just need to look at the composition and decide what creates a nice balance. Okay, on to another image. This one has a few things I wanted to talk about. One is that there will be times, possibly, where you are going to want to use the same charms repeatedly instead of a variety of charms, like most of my images are. And here are two examples. The first one is a little snowflake queen. And if you look at her, all of the charms are the larger snowflakes that are scattered all around her. And the little ovals are the embellishments along with the little dots. It's just the snowflakes that are the charms. And I think it looks good like that. Now you could mix other things in with it as well, but considering the subject matter, a question to put to you would be, what do you think would look good there besides snowflakes? Something to ponder. And the next one, it's a birthday cake or some sort of a party cake. And all of the stars are the charms. This one doesn't really have embellishments per se. I guess you could say maybe the candles. But the charms are what kind of catches your eye and carries you throughout the image. And I think definitely I could have come up with other images to go with it, but I thought the stars really did the trick. So it'd be kind of nice to know what you think about this one as well. But that was one of the topics I wanted to cover, that there are times when you just need one type of image to make all of your charms from. And the other part of this is the location. With the little snow queen, she's almost like a little angel. So I put the snowflakes all around her instead of just putting them at the bottom or coming straight down like they're coming from the sky, because she kind of looks like she's either flying straight up or floating. And I thought they would look good just scattered all about her, because she is the one that these snowflakes are here for. And on the cake, I wanted the person's eye to be drawn from the top to the bottom. And if you'll notice, all of the charms, they start out very heavy on the top and they kind of wind their way down to the middle of the cake on the right side, and then it pops over to the left side, and then it works its way down to one single charm at the bottom. That way it carries your eye all the way through the image, which is something to take into consideration as well when you're using charms as well as embellishments. Where you place them will at least partially determine how a viewer sees the image, whether their eye is carried all the way through or is focused in one area. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between charms and embellishments, because I understand it can be a little bit confusing potentially. They are very similar and can be used interchangeably. The main difference is that a charm always holds a noticeably important role to the composition and usually stands out, whereas the embellishment doesn't have to stand out. It can blend in if it wants to the overall composition, or stand out. Now, don't worry if this seems a bit unclear, because there really can be a rather large overlap between the two. Like I mentioned before, there isn't a wrong way of creating dangles. And also, as I mentioned, I was going to talk a little bit about the Venn diagram. In the middle is the heart, which encompasses both the embellishments and the charms. And extending out on either side just a little bit, is the charm. And the other side's the embellishment. I love Venn diagrams, they rock. But so you can see that, there are a few things that are specifically embellishment and a few things that are specifically charm. But there is a big overlap. So it's very easy to intermix the two or look at them and wonder which one is it. And throughout this lesson, I mentioned a few different things that will help you be able to pick up on that if it's not overtly noticeable. And if you start doing a lot of dangling, over time you will be able to pick up on this a lot easier. Using an image that I've used earlier in this lesson, I wanted to show you, it's kind of an extreme example, but it's a very good example on the difference between a charm and an embellishment. The charms are in an orangish color, and the embellishments are in a little bit of an olive green color. And you can easily see the difference between them. It just looks like the charms have an important role to play, and the embellishments have a supportive role to play. And in this particular image, that's exactly the way it is. And oftentimes, in the images, you'll find this to be true. Not always, though, since creativity is what it is. You can do anything you want. You could do the opposite if you wanted to, as long as you have fun with it. I realize I've spent quite a bit of time covering the charms aspect of Dangles, and the reason for that is because they're one of my favorites, plus I do think they have a pretty important role to play, and it's such a broad area in one way, but really close to embellishments in another way. So I wanted to take a little extra time and hopefully make this as clear as I could for you. So now we're going to talk about a few different charmed images, and maybe I'll ask a few questions just so you can give it some thought to see what you think. On the first letter A, what do you think would be either a good charm, the best one, or would you pick several? And what would they be? As I look at this image, one of the very first things that stands out is the center line that comes down from the crossbar on the A. But I don't think I would want to make that my charm. If I picked one charm, I think I would either pick the little rose or the heart. Now, if I were to pick more, I would pick the rose and the heart and possibly the little design at the very top and the little design at the very bottom. What would you pick? Okay, now on to the second day. This one's a little harder for me because I think most of these are embellishments. If I were to pick one, I think it would be the star because that's the most important. The others are really cute shapes, beads and vine type shapes, geometric shapes, but the star has a special meaning, so that's why I would pick that one. Now, on the first capital B, it's actually quite similar to the A we just talked about. Almost everything is a geometric shape except for the one star. So I would probably pick the one star and the diamond below it. On to the second B. Now this one's really hard for me. I'm pondering. I think I don't think there is a charm on that one. I think that's all dangles and embellishments. What do you think? All right, now on the first C, I definitely would pick the far right dangle, the bottom section, including the little yellow circle, to be a charm. What would you pick? Okay, and then on the very last one, I think I would pick two. I think I would pick the star with the little blue ball that comes down below it and the deeper red teardrop shape. So this might actually be a really good exercise for you to look at and think about to see if you would pick any of them as being a charm or if they would all be embellishments. And I would be really interested to find out what you think. Okay, let's go on to a few more images now. On this image, this one is a little bit trickier. It's the love image. When you look at it, it's easy to see where the dangles are, and I'd say probably 99% of the embellishments are. But then to try to figure out which are the main parts of the image and which are the charms, because it can be seen in different ways. For example, you could say that the two hearts in the upper left-hand corner are main focal points as well as the word love, and that the heart sitting on top of the L that's holding the two crossed dangles together could easily be a charm. The heart that falls inside of the right heart that of the two hearts that are together, that could be a charm. And maybe the bottom star. Or you could look at it in a whole different perspective and you could say that the two hearts are the main focal point, and then there are lots of embellishments, and that the word love itself could potentially be a charm. So once again, it would be really interesting to find out what you think. Let's see, if I were to pick one, it would be so tempting to take that whole word love and make it a charm. I might do that, I don't know. I'd have to really give this one some thought. Since this is the one that I seem to be having the hardest time making up my mind on, I would truly love to know what you think, what you would pick. Okay, now on to one of the last pages. This one is a combination of me just talking about some of the images and then, of course, trying to figure out which would make the best charms. On the upper left corner is a little bird sitting on a perch, which happens to be on the cover of my book, The Art of Drawing Dangles. And this is a charm. You can see the top part where it goes up into the dangle and it's got embellishments, but that one definitely is a charm. And right next to it is a butterfly with long dangles and little roses or rosebuds at the ends of the dangles. And for me, I would pick the three little roses as the charms, And if you look, you'll notice there's three different rows of dots. Those I would have as the embellishments. And next to that is a rain cloud. And this is a charm, including the little raindrops. The whole thing is a charm. And next to that is this striped, swirly thing with little blue circles coming off of lines. And then it has one straight dangle that goes down and a star at the bottom. Well, what do you think? I think it would have to be the star. Unless, of course, the design at the very top would be the charm. It could go either way. And next to that is a Christmas tree. It's a pretty crazy, fun, funky Christmas tree. And at the very bottom is a swirly dangle. And at the treetop has these little gold balls and a golden star. I would think for me, I would pick the entire treetop as the charm. What do you think? Okay, and next to that is a little heart flower. And this one, the whole thing could be a charm or just the heart. Next is a little bitty snowman with a very tall stocking cap. Now, on the snowman, he is holding a Christmas tree ornament on a dangle. And the very top part with the stars, it'd be between those two, and I think, again, I would have to go with the top, or the top and the ornament. I'm not sure. And then there's only one more image at the bottom left, which is the word believe. This is also a Christmas image. This one's a little more complicated, so it might be a little harder to pick. Hanging down on the left side of the B is an ornament on a dangle, and the letter L is kind of resembles a ribbon with the star on top. The I is dotted by what could be a snowflake, except for it's, red. And then coming out from under the E are two swirly dangles with little stars. So, what do you think would be good for a charm? Well, looking at it, if I could only pick one, I think it would have to be the dangle hanging down from the B, the long ornament. And I would pick the ornament with the little yellow and black dots below it as the charm. Now, if I could pick more, I would probably pick what would be the dot above the I. But once again, it would be very interesting to find out what you think. The differing opinions would be really nice. In one of the last lessons, we talked about taking three-dimensional ideas and turning them into two-dimensional ideas. Well, that's what I've done here, except for I just went in and took the two-dimensional lines and turned them into frames for the charms. So the very top one on the left here is a barbed wire frame for a charm. The one on the right is a swirly frame with little beads on it. And on the bottom is a puzzle frame. Frames make excellent containers for charms. Like on the last image we looked at, the little bird is sitting on a perch, which in essence is a frame. I oftentimes put the charms inside of frames, not always, but oftentimes, because it makes it stand out more. So it's something to consider. Well, I think this has been the longest Dangles lesson of all. I hope you've gotten a lot out of it. I've tried to teach this a little bit differently. I've tried to teach it in a way that's more in depth, more detailed, to give you more concepts and more things to take into consideration. But, here I go again, the one thing to remember is to have fun with it. So while I've given you concepts, ideas, and such, it really comes down to what makes you happy. Because if it makes you happy, I'm sure it's going to look very, very nice. Also, I have a page with a few designs that you can download if you would like to. Some of them are little charms, little frames, little starting points for you for reference. You can get that on my blog. I will post it there, and I will put the address below in the description. So feel free to come on over and download that if you would like to. It might be fun to play with and expand on some. This is Olivia from the Alexandrienne channel. And if you liked this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up, please, and hit the subscribe button to support my channel. Yay! And if you hit the little bell icon, that will notify you when I upload a new video. And also, if you know of anybody that you think might enjoy this series, please share it with them. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.